So we want to move on to...
Yeah, we're going to move on to the House of Wolves leak now. I'm just actually going to bring up a few notes from the Reddit community. So initially it kind of came up, and the big thing was that the launch date would be in May. We'll talk about that a little later.
Yeah.
But what the really important thing is the new rating on gear, including weapons and armor. It looks like it's going to be 39 now for light levels on all your gear. That's what it is. I'm telling you.
Okay. I was going to say, I looked at all of it, but I didn't, take a picture of it in my head. I'm assuming it's going to be, the same thing, right? Where we just go up a couple, levels overall on our characters and stuff, and, yeah.
So the question is, we have this huge leak. We know that damages are going to be higher. It's going to be 39 on the light. The big question is there anything worth coming back for?
The raid.
The raid. But we don't know what weapons are coming from the raid. It's just all we saw was a bunch of Vanguard gear and
Crucible gear as well.
Yeah.
Either way, just the fact that we know that there's going to be raid gear to hunt down. I think that always gets everyone that plays Destiny pretty excited.
I get excited about raid gear. It's good stuff.
Yeah,
it's good stuff.
I think it was very interesting. I thought it was very interesting that the little snapshot of the raid, it said level 29. I know everyone was freaking out on the internet. Why is it level 29? Placeholders. Lots of things on there are placeholders and will probably change. And if not, for certainly, will change. But I like how the description said the arena.
Yes.
I thought that was interesting. Mm-hmm. So I know, the DLC is going to be tied to a lot of, the Queen, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
True.
And that whole story arc.
There's going to be new story missions and something that's really exciting, a new weekly Nightfall strike that's level 32. So they're going to be upgrading that again.
Upgrading that and upgrading I'm sure they'll upgrade the the strike playlist as well.
So
28 instead of 26 there is what I would imagine. It'd be silly if it didn't happen.
Yeah, well, it needs to happen.
So, Broman, so it says in the description for the arena. What are you picturing in your head?
So what I've been thinking about the arena for a while, and when people are like, "That's what it's called," it definitely brings to mind something that's a lot different than Crota's End or Vault of Glass. When you see the arena, you think of competition.
Yeah.
And so, I am hoping... I've been thinking about some things that I would like to see in a raid in Destiny. And so, honestly, when I think of arena, I think of boss rush. So, to me, it would be really cool if the arena raid ended up being something just insanely difficult fights, one after the other.
Yeah.
And it kind of matches, because the raids they've done a really good job with matching the raids with the feel and mentality of the enemy tropes. So the Vault of Glass is very methodical. Crota's End is very hectic and dark. But aside from the Cabal, the Fallen are very, very much hierarchical knight type enemies, and so having an arena where you would fight their strongest people would kind of make the most sense for a raid. So that's what I'm really hoping for. That's what it brings to my mind.
I'm really hoping one part is kind of like a gladiator arena style, face off in a giant dome. It'd be pretty cool.
6 people against one big thing, or waves.
Yeah, or just all right, we're gonna crowds cheering stuff, and just them sending out different bosses. I think that'd be pretty sick.
What if the raid is the Queen says you have to go beat the arena to continue or something, so you go in and you fight this arena type thing you guys were talking about? That'd be kind of cool.
I think that would be fun. And also it might be dreaming, but you could, something that they haven't done with raids but they really, really could do is kind of, since they have such a vast variety of enemy types and they have all this different stuff that's built in, as there's potential for randomization inside of it. So what if you go to the arena and every time you enter, there could be changes to it? You maybe fight the same set of bosses, but there's an arc burn, or there is, different modifiers that could happen. And that would honestly, that would for any raid. They could do that to any raid in the game,
cool.
and it would really revitalize it because every time you play it, it's not the same raid.
That actually be pretty awesome. And then they could have like changing landscapes too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's sick actually.
Do you
It would
think
be really, really cool?
so? Luke from Bungie said that they're gonna not make the same mistakes that they did last time,
like the
with
exotic
Crota's
gear.
End. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, no, they just said we're not going to make the same mistakes. They were
The same
purposely
mistake.
vague.
Yeah, I read that.
Do you think they're going to do something for Vault of Glass and Crota's End, giving you a reason to go back and play those raids?
I think a good reason would be like, hey, if you play the raid again, you get those like legendary pieces of raid weapons.
Mm-hmm.
They'll be like whatever the current like level damage is.
Yeah,
I think
that's all they need to do to make them replayable. Just like
Yeah.
If I
okay,
can go back and get a higher level of Vision of Confluence or Fatebringer, I'm doing it.
like
100%.
those weapons are highly sought
Exactly.
after.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate they haven't done it yet. In my opinion, there should be an upgrade system or a reason to play through Vault again on a higher difficulty.
Yeah, why haven't they just flipped the switch yet?
All they really have to do is add the higher difficulty option, and then change the drops to be better drops.
No,
I think that would be a good fix.
I spent a lot of time thinking about this because it seems like a simple solution, right? Like it seems like all they got to do is just the thing. Like why don't they just do the thing?
Obviously, there's
And
a lot to implement.
I like to when I'm thinking about this stuff, I like to think about like what the game developers have in their toolbox and what they might be concerned about. Like why don't they just flip the switch? And I think that maybe one of the things they could be quite concerned about is balancing, because some of the weapons from Vault of Glass are so good. They're just so good that if they were to come out with the higher damage versions, they would again become the only choice for most situations. So they might be like protecting their babies. Like, no, we like all this stuff.
I mean, yeah, that
You
makes
need
sense,
to
right?
use it now.
Like
Which would be a terrible, terrible reason.
Yeah. I mean,
it really
see
would.
that.
But I totally agree. I was a little bummed that there wasn't like, level 32 Vault of Glass to do.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, I'll be really honest. Hard mode Crota is not a fun thing to do. Hard mode, this is my opinion personally.
Okay.
From running it a lot, and running it on stream a lot, it feels very unbalanced compared to hard mode Vault of Glass, because you're constantly up against a damage wall, because everything's one level above you and you're taking more damage and all this other stuff, and it leads to a lot of things that are problems that aren't necessarily execution and player based, which is extremely frustrating as a player to say, yesterday we did this in 25 minutes. Today it's taking us an hour and a half, and there's literally nothing different. It's just whether or not enemies decide to cooperate with you in their movements. And I feel like that takes away a lot of player agency, and that bothers me a lot. So that's what kind of bugs me about the hard mode Crota encounter.
Yeah, I completely agree with that.
Yeah, I agree. And just in general, I don't enjoy the Crota encounter as a whole. It's just a stationary boss that you knock down and then you hit a bunch. I mean, I like the teamwork aspects of it, but I don't like it as much as like the Vault of Glass encounter where you get teleported somewhere and you have to do a thing in there and your team split up. You're covering each other on the inside, and on the outside you're covering the guys on the inside, getting them an exit. I like that you're kind of split up into two groups, and then you come back together to put the damage on the boss.
I mean, I think it goes back to what Broman was saying like earlier, where it's just like, Vault of Glass is more methodical, right? Yeah. And then Crota is more just like smash through these walls and keep going.
And it really could honestly just be that's the choice they wanted to make. They felt like that's how you would fight the Hive, or you would fight Crota in particular. But I just really I strongly dislike the idea that like Vault of Glass, everyone does damage except for the Relic Bearer, and in Crota's End, nobody does damage. Nobody does damage except for the Relic Bearer. So it's the polar opposite of the raid, which means like there's a whole bunch of pressure on one person, and it might be a great experience for them, but the rest of your team kind of feels helpless. And when that person messes up, you get mad at them, and it's I don't know.
Yeah, it's a lot of pressure on one person.
It's hectic. It's hectic, which again matches with what they're may have been trying to do.
Wait,
Well,
Broman does have a sweet looking Crota sword, like literally right now.
Oh yeah,
I do.
let's see it.
Like
Yeah,
this thing
I
is
got
awesome.
my sweet. Yeah,
Look at that, dude.
This is pretty. I got this because I was like, man, I don't have any Destiny memorabilia. I would really like something, but I didn't really like any stuff on the Bungie store. And then I found this guy on like Etsy who was like, dude, I make Crota swords, and I was like, what? So
Yeah.
I got this thing. It's freaking awesome.
So that thing's totally awesome.
How
Yeah,
heavy
it's
is it
made
in
of
real
foam.
life?
I got it. My girlfriend was like, dude, we're going to put that over the TV. She's like, we're going to put it right there because it looks so badass.
Is it like made out of foam?
It is. It's made out of like a little bit like tough foam.
Yeah.
It's a little wiggly.
It looks really good.
You can see the
I
I if you
actually-
swing it too hard on this end, it like kind of moves like it's going to break. But I imagine it's not designed to
Yeah, to
assault
actually start.
people.
I actually
Like,
saw.
I'm glad it didn't show up in like a 20-pound package, and I suddenly
my
have,
goodness.
like, a
And it's, like,
huge,
made out of
heavy
pure
weapon in my
metal.
house. But yeah, it was pretty.
Yeah, that's
thing.
sweet. I did see someone retweet one time. There's this guy that makes actual like legit replicas of the last word in the Thorn hand
Oh
cannon.
yeah, that's right.
Yes.
So cool. They're like $400 though. But
I
still,
want one really
they're
bad,
so
but I can't.
cool.
The fact that they
can't.
exist is
Yeah.
cool.
I can't